I pray that God will bless you in everything that you do. I pray that you will grow intellectually so that you can understand the problems of the world and where you fit into in that world picture.
Sun vibrates, earth revolves, how can I rise? If I perceive through a calcified third eye, Macabra's looking like paper mache today, and words of wisdom from ancestors are now cliche, blowing like dust away, or metal rust away, doing wrong unto others and got nothing to say. We shackled our slaves, now we wear cuffs today. Wanna make your wife a dyke? You don't trust the game. I am cheap punchlines, made Douglas bust the sway. Knitted times if crochet or custom made, RBG or RG, it's still MST. Getting guards off Ritalin and pills stand with E. I go, I made youths chat with me on the front lines, and I got no grant with me. All diamonds are bloody, rapping blood clot done on, thinking that's real. Imhotep playing a movie, mommy, give up a car doll. And call it an Oscar, calling me grouch when I drop the truth on ya. Use hip-hop to wake those you call young goats at risk, cause they gun told and inhale gun smoke. Mufti shoot nah, get a neck from poke. Trying to order me on the 9 to 5 like a slave boat. Master gets nailed to walls like plaster or gyp rock. Illegal tackle in battle or catch a hip rock.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. That's how they function. They function in miles. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
We're scared to say, don't touch my ass, you b-boy coward. Try that with me, ball in your face like 48 hours. Bloody your nose, maybe bloody your clothes. Kick Satan's ass in Eden's garden and bloody your rose. Bloody your spit, I'm just like bronchitis severe. Hex Alpha Omega, I'll make blood of your tears. Not on the Mike Tyson style, but I'll bloody your ears. Throw a shotgun, blast you and your fam, bloody your peers. Some Pan-Africans ask why they bloody the feds. I say trail of tears is when they bloodied my fez. Without inspection, I see fiction correction. Too much diction and not enough soul reflection. Agents causing confusion from misconceptions. Distractions make lunch drops like turns missed on sessions. File for possessions. I run up your Wessons. Smith cashing in the bonds, good to live off pension. Live off our tensions. I got to mention. Give Moor's European names and live off our inventions. Saying I'm black to cash in on bond investments. Saying I'm a Moor, you're giving me psycho assessments.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. That's how they function. They function in miles. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
Like lipo, hybrids getting under my skin. Boot stomp them like an insect, but not on the tins. I'm into tinted windows, but not into rims. Pilgrim stole my fez and just added a brim. Stole the tassel, convince you that's the degree. Thinking it's smart, with 1 out of 360. Thinking you're hot, but run for nursery and curse me. Cause I run your fried chicken and your beef jerky. Run out your pork rinds, discharge court fines. Run less, send a letter, make them acquiesce. Run the racket, racketeers with muskets modernized. Most lost their first and use modern eyes. Using words that makes language modified. Children ain't stealing children, make them traumatized. Homos are doing promos and advertise to the lesbian solo with gay chat lines. MySpace is really their space. Facebook is big, locks and pics, but bald-headed, proving you're fake. Saying they're for love, but just want to debate their unintelligence and their lack of knowledge intake.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. That's how they function. They function in miles. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off. I'm speaking now from what I think, from what I have seen, from what I have analyzed, and the conclusions that I have reached.
Then the white man is no longer the devil, and he is no longer bound to be evil.
If I judge a man by his conscious behavior, I am not a racist. I don't subscribe to any of the tenets of racism.
Then there are good whites and good blacks and bad whites and blacks.
It's not a case of being good and bad, good or bad blacks and whites. It's a case of being good or bad human beings.
Yo, X Alpha. What up, NBCs? Iron Sheik. You need to study more. X Alpha. X. I'm here to dispel the rumors. There is no hell or heaven. Fire your preacher, fire your reverend. Born alone, no need for brethren or fam. Hope you need to eat burgers made with ham. Thinking it's safe in plastic, not can. Thou shalt not kill, fire on your halal lamb. If you under and over understand the matrix, the lunar escapes the satellites by spaceship. Universal lawsuit on serious satellite owner. Dogon priest, copyright infringed, judge the solar. Christ Yahshua makes wine from the vine. White Jesus, from water to wine, stop lying. Paper notes are worthless, that's a quote. Seti tossing fear at Dr. Ben, that's a joke. Take notes, I see you need to study more. Yeah, Turks war affairs, so did Sri Lankan Moors. Doing agents like Lupe, kick and push. Rappers with the frowsy flow, need a tush. For wanting the best of both worlds like J&R Kelly. Tell her it's raining, while you're pissing on her belly. T-Pain, computer love, voice jacker. No diff than if your computer got hit by hackers. Lil Wayne wearing paper tight jeans. Kanye in the pop section at HMV. Selling out for selling out. They love that deal. Unlike T. Brad and Chappelle. These sellouts love to kneel. Love the caramel, nougat and nuts. Love to be up in the lodge. Love to stray in the butt.
Do you feel that your message, apparent message of love that you brought back from Islam is the real reason they're after you, because you're not hating as hard as they want you?
Well, I never did hate anybody hard.
Well, they killed Malcolm X. Well, they had like killing him. He was right. He was for him. If you kill him, there's gonna be more killing going on. That's right.
Anytime a black man in this country stands up for his constitutional rights, he dies. What did Malcolm X mean to you?
It meant a great deal to me and my people. I'm sorry that a good man is gone. But the first I hear of it, I couldn't have cried anymore. I don't believe if I had lost my mother.
Islam Moors, peace and love. Doing an early Tuesday one today. Get out the way early. Lots going on. It's all good though. Nothing crazy. It's all good. So we're here today, just to give some honors. But before we do that, somebody said something. We just want to go over this. Somebody sent something. And we give supreme honors to all the Moors who are studious Moors, and they don't just have a head to put a hat on. They're doing something with their stuff. So we got two. We're just gonna deal with some stuff with two of these. Right. Islam, are you there?
Islam.
You got the pad on you? Or you?
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Police chief says one of its officers' actions is under review tonight after the handcuffing of a 10-year-old at a traffic stop. The video of that incident was put up on social media. It's been making the rounds. The child's mother calling for justice in this case. Christian Garzone reports the police chief says this was done for the child's safety.
Police Chief Laron Singletary says this was part of a regular traffic stop on Route 104. The car had a missing front plate, and the inspection sticker had expired in 2018.
You have anything with regard to those charges there? Alleged charges?
Yeah, because
Let me just play. Let me just play.
is,
Yeah, let me play it one more time.
right.
Child's safety.
Police Chief LaRon Singletary says this was part of a regular traffic stop on Route 104. The car had a missing front plate, and the inspection sticker had expired in 2018.
So missing front plate and expired sticker.
That's all color of law. That alone. That's how you. Before we begin, I'm glad you stopped it there, because you already know. All Moors know their agenda right there from then on. We should just look at that right there. We know in law, like, you don't have to have a license to exercise your right to travel. Like, we already know that for years. We've known that. So as soon as he goes up there, or the plate, or the expired ticket, the expired inspection sticker, all of that is fraudulent. Color of law. And just because he started off his whole thing like that, the interview guy on the news, we also know that the interview people and the news people work for the same inquisitionists who are pressing this. You got to have a license. You got to have an inspection sticker. You know, because all of that is really just inquisitional practices for you to be under subject to them, which are colonists. Like, that's what they're practicing. That's a proven fact that they're still practicing inquisitional practices, because all of this, you got to get a license from a colonizer, from a foreigner. That's fraud. You happen to get an inspection sticker, which is just really another tax for them to be able to rob you, and like all of that color of law, the whole thing, and they make it seem as if it's legit, and then it's part of constitutional law. Like, you're supposed to have a license. You're supposed to get no. That's not what it is. And then the people come on here. Knowingly Moors come on and say, "Oh, that's that sovereign citizen practice." When I love how Brother Sheldon said, "How could you? You can't be sovereign. Like, what is it? Sovereign citizen? How? What place is citizen? Like, how are you a sovereign of a place called citizen? Like, where's that at? Yeah. There's no place called citizen, so you can't be sovereign of citizens. Like, there's no place for that. So when they even try to put Moors who exercise their right to be peaceful on their own land, and without having any problems or getting looked at by a colonist like they're doing something wrong, Moors with bezzes and turbans that come tell you that's sovereign citizen. That's a lie. You're lying. You got that from Southern Poverty Center. They made all that crap up. And they still going along with it. So that's why I'm looking at this news broadcaster. Like, you're part of the inquisitional practices too. Because you're not even saying what the de jure law is. You're still going on with the facade, with the fake, the color of law. The inquisitional practices, because they, we know they own all the television channels, they own all the news broadcasting stations, they own all of that, and that's why I love how the mothers say we need our own media to get ourselves out of the avalanche of lies, because they're going to do theirs, because that's their agenda. That's their agenda. But knowingly Moors who are in the know and well studied, pick up on that immediately. Like, we already know that.
Yeah, it's not confusion.
Right.
Yeah.
because that's what they. It's Inquisition. We're under colonization. This is what I told the Grand Sheik earlier. It just seems as if this is their script. They give these scripts to the news broadcasters every time a Moor gets pulled over. Yeah. Read this.
Yeah. It has to look. Yeah, it has to look a particular way all the time. Same MO all the time.
It's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And it exposes them even more because it's like even when you at the end of the video, the guy, the news broadcaster, his name is Christian.
Yeah.
the guy at the other end, he's like, "Thanks, Christian," and I'm like, "What?" Like, are you serious? Come on, man.
Hold on, let me play it.
The chief says officers were trying to protect the 10-year-old girl. Officers say the child kept running towards oncoming traffic on Route 104. The police chief says the 10-year-old girl was handcuffed primarily.
Like, you're telling me this big girl right here is running into oncoming traffic? Come on now. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
This is one of those instances where they saw the car. They know the car. They already know what's up. This is not no first time interaction. Maybe these particular highwaymen, it's a first time, but there's no way. Right? There's no way. Because even if the child's running into oncoming traffic, obviously they're outside of the car, so they're not running and going anywhere. They'll probably be there. So there's a lot more that's not available that has this thing looking again like the regular thing. Try to make it look like Moors are crazy or whatever. We don't know what we're talking about. When, like you say, from off the top, you realize that something's up. You realize that there's some supreme discrepancies, that people are playing games.
Yep. And in law, once one thing doesn't add up, the whole thing is thrown out.
Everything's thrown out. Everything's thrown out. Right.
So he killed himself right in the beginning. Everything else from here on is thrown out.
Yep. This is just talking. Yeah, this is just talking. Right. And this is how thrown out it is.
For safety reasons, the mother of the girl still wants. Officers say the child kept running towards oncoming traffic on Route 104. The police chief says the 10-year-old girl was handcuffed primarily for safety reasons. The mother of the girl still wants justice and claims the harassment from police since they become sovereign citizens means they don't believe in him.
Right? Playing games. You know that they got this script to read from the highwaymen. Or it's a pre-script that if anything comes up with anybody called Moors, called sovereign, and they look like a black guy, say this. Just like what you're saying. Because the narrative is too perfect.
Yep.
The narrative can't be that perfect. It has to be scripted. And again, with the present climate going on and rights and some position as if they have jurisdiction over the Moors like this, to put handcuffs on them and whatever. They don't got jurisdiction over Moors like that. That was Inquisition practice right there. That was we caught you outside in the daytime not being Christian.
Yeah.
That's what that was. Why you have her with a turban on? Unravel that. There ain't no way that girl's walking around with those two things hanging down long like that to the ground. No way. That was a wrapped turban. And however turban got unraveled is a whole different thing. We're not going there.
you're a proclaimed Moor, you know you're a Moor, I always give you an extra 2 points of having
off
some
the
sense.
top.
I always give you that off top.
Off top. Just because
I'm
you know.
pretty sure she didn't raise her child to run in the
street.
oncoming traffic.
If she's a Moor and she's a mother and she's been studying and knows Nobujuali and the principles and all that, no way that offspring is running into no oncoming traffic. No way. Absolutely, positively not happening. Not happening. It's not happening. Simple as that. You know.
That's I'm like, it's all slander, still slander, and then saying that the 10-year-old, 10, this highway is gonna say she's running into the oncoming traffic, so you put the handcuffs on her. They trumped up charges on a 10-year-old, to put them cuffs on her. Like they just made up some BS just so they can put these cuffs on her. And it wasn't that. It was the Moabites was ripping them. And they was feeling some type of way. Like the highway told me, I'm just tired of you Moors.
Tired of you Moors. Tired of you Moors.
It's not enough. They're like, you're 100% correct. That's what this whole thing seems like. Because that's the same thing they try to say about me. No tags, whatever. And then they just play their BS the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. But you know how I look at it, Grancy. Oh, you home? Then it worked. It worked. You over here, this more stuff don't work. Where are you at saying this more stuff don't work? You're home? Yeah. It looks like it worked to me.
Right.
How it didn't work? You home?
Yo. Yeah. What's the problem?
What's the problem?
Well, they held me on the ground and they, all right, you home though? Yeah, all right, yo.
Yeah.
You left the guy with the black hood didn't do anything to you? The black hood guy with the shirt sleeve cut off with the big axe didn't do anything?
Yeah.
You just got a little bump by him and that was it. All right. Guess no, without a shadow of a doubt, that they're trying their campaign, but this is not 1492 Boab deal and take the key and all that, right?
Nope, because they're killing unconscious Moors for jogging off rip.
Right. They had no plates, messed up sticker, whatever like that, and only got some handcuffs. You complaining? Could have got. Why I seen people get worse? I seen people get worse than that for less.
Right. They didn't say they found the stuff under the car seat in the back. They didn't do all the trumped up lies and everything else. Because that's the next thing they'll do. They'll put it all on you if you NBC. They just did the regular script and let the Moor go out the back door. Simple.
Let's carry on.
I ain't heard from him since. It's been like 4 years since that happened to me.
Nothing.
For safety reasons, the mother of the girl still wants justice and claims the harassment from police since they become sovereign citizens means they don't believe in American laws.
But for someone to
you see that, Grancy?
Yeah.
See how he keeps drilling that? He keeps drilling it.
Yeah.
That's a script.
Yeah.
It's script.
Sovereign
They're drilling that sovereign. Every time he says a quote, at the end of it, he says sovereign citizen. He gonna make sure he say sovereign citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Every quote he say, at the end of it, he's saying sovereign citizen or sovereign, or just playing these games.
and take her to jail because she's scared. And
okay, what do you think about this? Did you catch the name when they showed the appellation on the screen?
Oh, the BAY.
Yeah.
Yeah, spelling the appellation, spelling the title wrong. Now, when they said that, when they try to claim the prophet, we see it right here. We know that's not how you spell Bay. We know that. We all know that. But back in the day when they messed up and misprinted the prophet's title, and some fraud guy brings it up today talking about, oh, his name was, I forgot what the newspaper called him. What was
Timothy Drew.
Timothy Drew.
Yeah. No, Thomas Drew.
Thomas Drew. Sorry. Thomas Drew. They called him Thomas Drew. Misprint right there. Thomas, when they just totally messed up the prophet's title. And then now they're doing it again, messing up the prophet's title. Messing up the Moabite's title.
Yeah.
Clearly, right in the same thing on their news program or whatever. Even though they didn't have the TV then, they put it in the paper. It's the same thing. It's a public announcement. Everybody can see it. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just try to disclaim the Moor. Gonna put BAY. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Nobody. That was purposely done. The A on the keyboard is not even next to the E. He didn't mess up. The A on the keyboard is not next to the E. You didn't? Oh, no. You didn't do that. You purposely did that.
Yep. You know what they're doing? You know exactly what they're doing.
Put handcuffs on her and hurt her wrist and, too tight. She was screaming.
The 10-year-old was asked a few times by the officer to get out of the roadway for everyone's safety. As cars were traveling down the expressway, the 10-year-old, during the encounter, began to pull away from the officers. And based on the information I have right now, the officer at this point made a decision to handcuff the 10-year-old to assist in controlling the actions of the 10-year-old and for the safety of all involved.
The chief says the girl was not actually sent to jail, as the mother says, and the claims of sovereignty turned out not to be true. They were...
What's he mean by that?
I'm totally confused right now. I'm just thrown off all the way. And that's what they want. They want the confusion. Because, if the so-called sovereignty thing didn't work, well, you just said she didn't go to jail, so, it sounded like it worked. You're like, okay, but you just said she didn't go to jail. And I'm seeing her, she's on TV doing interviews.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, she's
obviously the mom's not in jail, the daughter's not in jail, so it looks like the whole thing worked. Like, they're on TV getting interviewed. I'm pretty sure she still doesn't have the so-called license, nothing.
And then remember,
how did she get to where she got to do the interview?
and then remember, court is really outside, not inside a building. Right. So in court, the Moor went home after. In court, the Moor went home after. Well, how does this not work? How is this not what it's about?
I didn't think that the European would ever be like, oh, you're a Moor? Oh, we're sorry. Go ahead about
yeah.
You're gonna get some bruises, and then you can go home. But we ain't gonna do you like the nigger.
And the other part,
you're gonna feel this.
And the other part is how dare they talk about the sovereign doesn't work when Buddy has LL Bean on his jacket. You double L. Are you double L and you're saying sovereign stuff doesn't work? How?
Yo.
How?
They kill themselves every time.
How you LL and sovereign doesn't work? How? It didn't work. Or didn't it work?
Governmental administration and vehicle and traffic charges, some with resisting arrest. From Rochester, Christian Garzone, News 8. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you. An internal investigation.
Thank you, Christian, for denationalizing. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your work denationalizing. So okay, so that was that broadcast. Yeah, that was that broadcast. Now let's see what this broadcast says though. Because there was two. Let's see what this one says.
There's a plea for justice after news spread of a 10-year-old girl being handcuffed by Rochester police officers. I'm Jonathan Hunter. I spoke to the mother of that child and the police chief to get both sides of the story.
Look at her wrist. A child, 10 years old.
Akila Sovereign El Bay posted on social media the reunion she had with her daughter. Rochester police confirmed the girl was handcuffed during a traffic stop on Sunday as a safety precaution. El Bay is upset with how the officers treated her daughter.
And they treated my child like she was property and told her she was property. She was now their property.
No, how come they got the bay right? So obviously some people are playing games to try to make this be something that it's not.
Yep.
Because why they get the bay right and the other people are putting BAY like they don't know what's going on?
Yep. Hey.
I have a problem with that.
According to RPD, police pulled a car over on Route 104 for having an expired inspection and no front license plate. Police say the driver didn't have a valid driver's license and claimed to be of a sovereign citizen status. With
there they go again.
Yeah.
Right. Throwing it in there. Remember, it's for the people who don't have eyes to see but can hear. It's for the people who don't have eyes to see but can hear. Because they're blind to what's going on. That they're throwing this sovereign citizen thing in there. But that's the norm. That's what they do. Is recognizing when they're doing that and immediately going in the other direction of what this is really about.
Yeah.
Not what they're trying to make it what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about licenses and whatever. This is about denationalizing you.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear she told that they told her that you're our property? No, she's not. How? How you know that she's El Bay? How you know she's El Bay, but you're claiming she's your property? How do you get jurisdiction over L's and Bays? How? Through what means? Must be color. Must be assuming. Must be without due process.
Mm-hmm. And none of that, you know, I believe the Moabites, but they didn't do none of that on camera, because now I'm watching the interview, the news people, I done seen 2 channels, and not one of these interviews did they call her black, African American, Negro, colored, none of that. They said the 10-year-old. I said, dang, how many times they gonna call her that? the 10-year-old, but you ain't gonna call her black. I bet you ain't gonna call her black. And they did. They did not call her black. They can play whatever they want off camera, but when it comes out, they know they couldn't call her black. They could not call her black. So it looks like that so-called sovereign stuff does work again.
Yep.
Because well, if it don't work, why you ain't calling her black? Call her black. Oh, okay. 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 Because they ain't calling them black, African American, none of that. And they quick to do that. They quick to do it. They love doing that.
Fingers on the trigger with that shit. They call you black quick fast.
Yep. As soon as they shoot, after the news people and the black man was armed, and that's all you hear. That's all you hear. The African American figure, they be killing them.
They call you back quick fast.
They did not call her black. African American. Not one time. That was very interesting to me. I'm like, well, if none of this is what it is, why won't you just call her black?
Mm-hmm.
If she's not who she's saying she is, we'll call her black. They win there.
Right.
Where they do not recognize the rules of our society. Chief Laurent Singletary says handcuffing the girl was for her safety because she tried to pull away from the officer while they were on the side of the road.
A lot of times people associate handcuffs with someone being arrested and going to jail. There are times where we do place handcuffs.
That's two different stories,
Yo.
And look at the chief. Look who he is.
Yeah. Of course, Asiatic.
Look at the chief, Morisco. Defending Rome. Always going to be on. Always. And you think that was their plan? They couldn't wait to put him up there.
For real. Yep.
They couldn't wait to put him up there. Like, what do you mean?
Let me ask you this question. I don't know about where you live at, but I never heard of any traffic stop where chief of police has to be saying something.
Oh, wow. Never. Yo, come on. Grand Chief.
Why is the chief of police talking right now? For some traffic stop.
It never happens. Never.
People get murdered in the street, chief of police doesn't talk.
Never.
People get murdered in the street and chief of police does not talk. Oh, you're going to talk crazy. The amount of times that people get shot. Chief of police doesn't talk for every one of those times. This is one instance.
Yo, since when chief of police talk, interview for a traffic stop? Since when?
Oh. The chief of police talk when with Fontes, when his youth man got.
Oh, please.
That didn't even make news. Got his 25 million.
That's Fontes' video.
Got his 25 million views on that though.
Yeah.
Just to show you. Just to show you.
And the highwayman who pulled over that Moor biters, he's seen that video.
Oh yeah.
They all seen it.
Oh yeah.
Their movements as well as for the safety of everyone involved.
The 10-year-old girl wasn't charged with anything, but the adults in the car with her were charged with obstructing governmental administration. El-Bay says her family are Moorish American nationals, a sovereign citizen group that just...
I know she didn't say that. I know she didn't say that. If she knows that she's a Moorish American national, for sure she knows she's not a sovereign citizen. For sure. There's no way she's gonna say I'm a Moorish American national sovereign citizen. No way.
She was waving the banner at the end there. They showing off, man.
No way. Yeah. They're playing their game.
Playing their game, waving their colonization.
Operate within recognized laws. And she says the officers should have left her daughter alone.
And when she sees you and you constantly are harassing a family, it's a threat. Her thing is she's seeing them put those gloves on and got immediately scared.
The RPD says its professional standards section is conducting a preliminary review of the case. Chief Singletary did say that as a citizen, you always have the option to file a complaint. Individuals.
Oh, as a citizen, but then if you're not a citizen, what complaint gonna do? Oh, that's why their complaints never work, because you're not a citizen. You're not part and partial.
Can have an opportunity to request the officer's name, badge number, card number, and make a complaint later on by calling 911 and asking to speak to a supervisor.
Reporting in Rochester, Jonathan Hunter, Spectrum News.
So that was just the intro. We have another intro. We have another intro right now. Go ahead, Moor.
But don't forget, on Fridays, that chief of police is about to go put his fez on and go to his meetings. Okay? He's gonna go put his Prince Hall memorabilia on and go to his meeting. And try and be in there playing Boys and Girls Club. They're not in there. They're not doing it. I was gonna give them some ritualistic, but they're not doing that. They're in there drinking and bringing girls. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything. Anything. I've seen it. They bring Abdullah in to teach them the science. C. Freeman L said in his video in the 90s that they have him come in here. He said himself that he teaches Masons. And I'm like, wow. Like, you were doing that Abdullah in the 90s. Like, yeah, because they don't know nothing. They only can learn from the Moors. They're in there playing Boys and Girls Club. Drinking and having fun. And then outside of that, they hook each other up with jobs. That's all they do. They have no power, no nothing. No nothing. You can go on YouTube and type in basically and see, because there's Europeans got plenty of videos dissing this Prince Hall stuff, laughing at it. Because he knows all about her. And what did he say? Because she was obstructing government administration. We know what administration means.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about Walmart? That's not. Can somebody in Walmart in a blue vest come put cuffs on you when you start backing up? Like, what are you doing? Because this Walmart, you got blue. Your job is to bag groceries. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what is you doing?
What are you trying?
But because over the years, because the prophet came in 1913 in the sellout, now all of a sudden this is real.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart can't put handcuffs on you.
Yep. It ain't done. Just
America needs to understand Islam, because this is the one religion that erases from its society the race problem. Throughout my travels in the Muslim world, I have met, talked to, and even eaten with people who in America would have been considered white. But the white attitude was removed from their minds by the religion of Islam. I have never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together, irrespective of their color, of their skin, that is. You may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced
has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. On this pilgrimage, I'm going to read this one more time. This is very key. On this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. This was not too difficult for me. Despite my firm convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds. I have always kept an open mind, which is necessary to the flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. The words of El-Hajj Malik Shabbazz, also known as Malcolm X. And with that, let's hear from the brother himself.
You know the book by S.C. Udam on called Black Nationalism? I know you must.
I was with S.C. Udam in Nigeria.
I wish you'd tell me about him. Who is he?
Well, he's a Nigerian. At present, he's a professor at Ibadan University.
I didn't know where he was now. I knew he was a scholar.
Yes.
Do you agree with his analysis that the black Muslim religion, Islam in America, has served as a concealed device to gratify the American Negroes' aspirations for white middle-class values?
No, I don't think that.
He takes that view.
Yes, but I don't think that the objective of the American Negro is white middle-class values. Because what are white middle-class values? And what makes the whites who have these middle-class values have those values? Where did they get it? They didn't have these same values, 400 years, 500 years ago. Where did they get their value system that they now have attained to? And my contention is that if you trace it back, it was the people of the East who brought them out of the Dark Ages, who brought about the period that ushered in or initiated the atmosphere that brought into Europe the period known as the Renaissance, or the reawakening of Europe. And this reawakening actually involved an era during which the people of Europe who were coming out of the Dark Ages were then adopting the value system of the people in the East, of the Oriental society, many of which they were exposed to for the first time during the Crusades. Well, these were African. These were the African, Arab, Asian values. The only section of Europe that had a high value system during the Dark Ages were those on the Iberian Peninsula in the Spanish, Portuguese area, southern France. And that high state of culture existed there because Africans, known as Moors, had come there and brought it there. So the only section of Europe that had a high value system during the Dark Ages were those on the Iberian Peninsula in the Spanish, Portuguese area, southern France. And that high state of culture existed there because Africans, known as Moors, had come there and brought it there. So
prepared to go into the United Nations at this point and ask that charges be brought against the United States for its treatment of American Negroes?
Oh yeah. Please. The audience will have to be quiet. Yes, as I pointed out when I was during my travel, that African nations and Asian nations and Latin American nations look very hypocritical when they stand up in the United Nations condemning the racist practices of South Africa and that which is practiced by Portugal and Angola, and saying nothing in the UN about the racist practices that are manifest every day against Negroes in this society. Even in South Africa, those Africans aren't faced with bayonets and aren't faced with police dogs. I would be not a man. If I was in a position to bring it in front of the United Nations and didn't do so, I wouldn't be a man.
Malcolm, do you intend to lead the charge in the United Nations?
Well, I find that to say you're going to lead something creates a lot of hostility, division, jealousy, and envy. I hope to work with any group of leaders or any group of organizations to do whatever is necessary to see that this problem is brought before the United Nations.
Have you had any commitments from any nations in Africa to support you?
I would rather not say at this time. But one thing I found in my travels, all of them look upon us as their long-lost brother.
You realize the implication is that you have had such commitments when you say.
This is your interpretation of what I said. One thing that I found in all of my travels was that all of the Africans, not only the Africans, but the Asians and the Muslims, look upon us as their long-lost brothers. And America had actually tricked many of them into a hands-off policy by giving them the impression that she was honestly trying to do something to solve the problem. My argument over there was designed to prove that it is impossible for the United States government to...
Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown, from can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday, they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. They'd go up in the sky, and every day would be Sunday. That's a shame. And it is that 310 years of slave labor that went in, that was mine and your contribution into this particular economy and political system. They can give us the back pay. Let's join in. If this is what the Negro wants, let's join in. Let's show him how to struggle. Let's show him how to fight. Let's show him how to bring about a real revolution. Let's make him stop jiving. You don't need a debate. You don't need a filibuster. You need some action.
Slap to Brother Rami for that one. Oldie but goodie.
Minister Malcolm, I'd like to know why you place so much emphasis on calling the freedom struggle among Afro-Americans in this country a struggle for human rights rather than civil rights.
Well, most of our people don't even know the meaning of civil rights. And by not knowing what it is they're actually trying to get, it has eluded us for the past 100 years. Civil rights is supposed to mean citizenship. When you have civil rights, you have citizenship. When you have citizenship, you have civil rights. And if the 22 million Afro-Americans were actually citizens of this country, it wouldn't be necessary to pass any...
Oh, yeah. So all of this was supposed to be already uploaded because we did this video on the IG earlier today. So that video got blocked. They say because of 30 seconds of a Warner Brothers copyrighted whatever. So it's blocked all over the world. So one of the things we were bringing up is listen to the emphasis on certain things that he's talking about, right? The things that he's emphasizing. We're talking about how from the jump, just as Moors talk, the reason why our people don't know what the hell they want because they don't know what stuff means. Told them straight from the beginning, look up civil rights. Bet you're gonna look it up and then that's what you think it is. If the people knew what it was, they would know it had nothing to do with them. So listen for little key things that as Moors we know. If you say that, you've been studying the stuff. There's no way you're talking like that if you didn't study the stuff. And remember, all of this is as Malik El Shabbazz, not as Malcolm X. So another thing we were talking about is this is why they don't go here with him. They keep you in the Malcolm X state with him. They never bring you to Malik El Shabbazz. Why? Because that was the Moor. That's the eyes wide open, seeing and knowing, and carrying out the law. Same thing. Remember, we're bringing Malcolm X from back then to today, but presenting him as El-Hajj Malik El Shabbazz, the Moor. Because when he started saying Malik El Shabbazz, he wasn't talking like a black guy anymore. He wasn't talking some conscious whatever and only for our community and that's it. Nothing else matters. Just our little pocket of black people in whatever.
Any kind of additional legislation to include us in the Constitution. If you notice, whenever the people come here from Europe, they can come here from Poland, which is a communist country. They don't need any legislation to make this Polish person a citizen. They don't need any additional civil rights legislation to make the refugees from Hungary who come here citizens. They don't need any additional legislation to make anyone who comes to this country a citizen. But when it comes to the rights of the black people who are the descendants of slaves, then immediately new legislation is necessary. So this right here implies that when the Constitution was written, in some way or other, it must have excluded those of us who were slaves at that time. And because we were excluded from the Constitution when it was originally written, today they have to amend it in order to include us. But if you notice, the Civil War didn't include us in the Constitution. Had the Civil War Constitution, we would be citizens today. Had the amendments even to the Constitution actually included us, we would be citizens today.
So you honor him. He's letting you know you're not no citizens. He's letting you know. Your boy, Malcolm. Conscious black guy, knows himself. He's letting you know.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Letting you know that you are not a citizen. You can't be a citizen. And just like when you say, oh wow, I'm brown. I'm not black. Next logical question, if you're not a citizen, then where's your government at? If you're not black, then what's your identity? Critical questions answered by the Moor that these people call Malcolm X, denationalizing him. He knew you were a dumb nigger and let you call him Malcolm X because he knew. He knew that the stuff was over because you guys didn't even know what the hell he's talking about when he started talking human rights. That would have made him further realize how much of a sellout went on. Because these people aren't even equipped with the basic essentials to stand on some nationhood. Much less go to the UN and talk about some rights got violated. Uphill battle with all the stones on your back. Islam, more. You had something?
I just wanted to add on because we know, like you were saying, El-Hajj newly born citizens, right? I just want to add on to what else I knew, what we know El Haj knew. With proof from our favorite, Anor Majid, in the book We Are All Moors, page 83. It says, Malcolm X, 1925 to 1965, embodied the tight connection between African American nationalists, Pan-African consciousness, and Islam as a global faith. He ultimately understood that the struggle of African Americans was part of the African, Arab, Asian, and indeed third world struggles against Western imperialism. In a 1960 speech at the Harvard Law School Forum, Malcolm X affirmed this global community by saying, "We here in America, who are under the divine leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, are an integral part of this world of Islam that stretches from the China Seas to the sunny shores of Africa." Malcolm X made the African American struggle global once he broke ranks with Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to read that again. Malcolm X made the African American struggle global once he broke ranks with Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam by founding the Organization of African American Unity, the OAAU, in Ghana to represent Afro-Americans in the Western Hemisphere, correcting the provincial misconception that UWS Black struggle was confined to the United States. As he explained in a June 28, 1964 talk at the Audubon Ballroom, quote, "Many of us fool ourselves into thinking of African Americans as those who are in the United States. America is North America, Central America, South America. Anybody of African ancestry is in South Africa is an African American, Afro-American. Anybody Central America of African blood is an Afro-American. Anybody here in North America, including Canada, is an Afro-American. If he has African ancestry, even down in the Caribbean, he is an Afro-American."
Oh, hold on a second. You sure he didn't say Afro-Canadian right there?
No, he didn't know.
Read that again. Read that again.
He said, anybody here in North America, including Canada, is an Afro-American.
Oh, that's interesting. Even he knows. Well, go ahead, Moore. Carry on.
Yep. If he has African ancestry, even down in the Caribbean, he is Afro-American. Malcolm X was well aware that the term Moor meant quote-unquote black. I love how Noor put black in quote-unquote. But just the fact that Malcolm X was well aware of the term Moor, like he knew, and because everything he's saying, he's describing the Moroccan Empire. He's just repeating what the prophet said about North America, Central America, and all of that being part of the Moroccan Empire. He's just repeating that. And,
I'm sorry, Moore. Just to answer a question in the chat. All this stuff is just stuff online. Like, it's not even some secret stash. It's just that everybody's just heard him talk. Nobody's read the speeches.
Nope.
Now, once you read the speeches, you realize, hold on a second, people been excerpting certain parts to play their little game.
All we know is Malcolm X in the blind with the shotgun. That's all we know.
Yeah.
When they, and everybody wants to mimic and take pictures like that and all of that, and that's as far as they go. That's as far as they go. But to continue real quick, right? It says Malcolm X was well that the term Moor meant quote unquote black, and that, quote, the red, the brown, and the yellow are all indeed part of the quote unquote black nation. And therefore, broadly speaking, Muslims, and we know that's Moors. Like, so El Hajj knew that. All of these people were Moors. Like the Prophet said, even our people in Mexico, those are Moors.
Exactly.
El Hajj said the people in South America are Moors.
All those are Muslims.
Like, all of them.
Muslims are Moors.
All of them. And then, and this right here, I'm reading it, and I'm like, see, El Hajj was talking to the people where they were at. But I'm like, well, this was in the 60s.
Yeah.
So in 2020, I don't want to hear that, oh, you got to talk to the people where they're at. No, El Hajj did that in the 60s. Yeah. So I'm not doing that right now. I'm not doing that no more. That was 80 years ago. Yeah, I don't want to hear that.
Stop it.
Stop that.
Yeah.
We got to talk to the people where they're at. They don't know El Hajj. They didn't read his speeches. They should at least have that. That was in the 60s. And the last thing, right? It said it was probably this inclusive philosophy of race that unsettled the U.S. government officials. So as soon as El Hajj started talking about that, like, we're all Moors and trying to bring all of us together back under the empire, but still talking to the people where they're at. But we can see it. We see it clearly. Like, you're just talking in general terms of what the Prophet wrote. That's all you really did. But he knew, because there's a video of him saying the word Moor. He said the word Moor.
Yeah. He knew something.
And I'm like, okay, once you know the word Moor, you said that. You keep talking about the Constitution, and I'm like, okay, I think El Hajj might have knew about that treaty too.
He might have knew, yo. There's too much. Wait till you hear some of the rest. There's too much more talk. There's no way he didn't know. It's impossible that he didn't know, because like, this is just a minute in, but yo, he started talking like a Moor for real. He goes off.
Supreme Court desegregation decision way back in 1954 was sufficient to include us into the jurisdiction of the Constitution. All of our problems would be solved today. So there's something about civil rights that makes it almost impossible for us to get it. So
right, you felt it too, right?
Yo,
you felt it too, right? The jurisdiction.
That's our favorite word.
Yeah, you felt it too, right? There's no way he doesn't know, and that's what we're talking about with the word sound power.
Right.
With knowing what it is opposed to being what it is. Because he was nationality up now, so he was being this now. He wasn't Malcolm X trying to attain this. He now became it.
Yeah.
So his language changed. And you put this speech right here, this little excerpt, human rights or civil rights. There's some Boston radio show, you can go find the full thing. From civil rights to human rights is a big transition. And the seamless nature that he made the transition from civil rights to human rights, everybody who says that they rep him should have followed suit. Because the transition was smooth. The transition was smooth like Denzel playing El Hajj. Smooth like that. You can't even tell the difference. Talking just like a Moor.
Had the amendments even to the Constitution actually included us, we would be citizens today. If the Supreme Court desegregation decision way back in 1954 was sufficient to include us into the jurisdiction of the Constitution, all of our problems would be solved today. So there's something about civil rights that makes it almost impossible for us to get it. So you have to know the difference between civil rights and human rights. As long as our people are begging for civil rights or they are labeling their struggle for freedom, justice, and equality under the label of civil rights, then what they do is leave us in the jurisdiction of Uncle Sam's courts. And it's actually Uncle Sam, way back in 1954, was sufficient to include us into the jurisdiction of the Constitution. All of our problems would be solved today. So there's something about civil rights that makes it almost impossible for us to get it. So you have to know the difference between civil rights and human rights. As long as our people...
El Haj is going in right now, and right now he's exposing a lot of NOI right now.
Yeah.
Because they have their lawyers.
So
like the so-called Shabbazz guy.
Yeah.
He's the lawyer guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he pushes civil rights. How could you push civil rights? You know all about El Haj. I even knew that El Haj didn't want to do that civil rights, and he was pushing human rights when I was dumb nigger. I knew that. I been knew that. So I'm like, okay, how didn't the Shabbazz guy know that? Why is he in there? How doesn't Al Sharpton and all of that? I mean, you know Sharpton is the CIA, but this is their leaders. These are their leader guys. El Haj was telling y'all this stuff in the 60s. That you're leaving your people in the jurisdiction of Uncle Sam when you do this, pushing the civil rights crap. That's what you're doing. And they still doing it. 2020, 80 years later. They was like, yeah, we know, but we're getting sandwiches, so we got to keep doing it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm like, there's people in NOI, they're in NOI, lawyer, and still pushing civil rights. I'm like, how could you do that? When El Haj told you it's not, you're leading your people into Uncle Sam's jurisdiction. He told you that.
Oh, well, with regard to El Haj, let's just play this.
You have been discussed quite a bit in the news lately, ever since your organization's convention in Chicago several weeks ago. Since the death of Malcolm X, have you encountered any serious trouble, or do you expect any serious trouble?
I have not encountered any serious trouble, and I don't expect to encounter with any serious trouble from Malcolm's death. This death of Malcolm, God himself had something to do with that. And I think the people will learn that this was some work of God himself.
Do you feel possibly something that Malcolm brought on himself then?
Well, he did bring all of it on himself. If he had stayed with us following me, he would not have, the people will learn that this was some work of God himself.
Do you feel possibly something that Malcolm brought on himself then?
Well, he did bring all of it on himself. If he had stayed with us following me, he would not have been there today. He would have been a living man today. I believe Malcolm.
Do you feel possibly something that Malcolm brought on himself then?
Well, he did bring all of it on himself. If he had stayed with us following me, he would not have been there today. He would have been a living man today.
If he had stayed with us following me, he would be a living man today. But Allah is the one who killed him.
I'm looking at it like he just told him if he would have stayed selling out, if he would have stayed with us and sold out, he wouldn't be in the problems he was in. That's all I heard just now.
Yeah.
That's all I heard. sold out and capitulated, played dumb nigger,
we wouldn't have killed him.
they wouldn't have killed him. Right.
Simply put, we wouldn't have did it if he just sold out. If he's stuck with the civil rights and all that stuff, stop playing around.
There we go. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
If he's stuck with the we're gonna get our IRS payouts and stuff like that, you know, we got him out of prison.
Grand Sheik, that's the truth, man. Because when he left, it wasn't like he left and changed the religion, which they were supposed to be about, or change people's, you know, demeanor on becoming a good human being or whatnot. He didn't change any of that. He kept all that the same. Only thing he changed was, we're not doing that being in these European courts and in their jurisdictions. And that's clearly that's what he didn't want to do. Like he was like, I'm not doing that. And Elijah was doing that. And then Elijah said, well, we got to get rid of him. Because that's the only thing that changed. Once you go do the research and see, well, what philosophies and practices did El-Hajj bring when he left NOI? And you will basically see it was the same stuff. He just didn't want to. It's this part right here with the Grand Sheik was saying, we're not doing that civil rights crap. We're not being under jurisdiction with these European colonizers anymore. We're not doing that. Mm-hmm. And Elijah was like, oh, here we are.
Well, we're doing it.
Here we are.
We're doing it.
Because I'm going to go send this guy over there and give him 2 sandwiches, and he's going to do it.
I'm gonna give him 2 sandwiches and an Ali, and he's gonna do it.
Yep. Yo, you're the best. You're the best, Greasy. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did.
Oh, don't get it twisted. Don't forget, this is the spirit of El-Hajj that has us even doing this right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Cujo wants to do this. This is El-Hajj wants this done. Nothing to do with me. Don't even look in my direction. It has nothing to do with me.
Yep.
We're just playing puppets. We're just playing El-Hajj puppets today. It has nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? We haven't said anything yet. He's been doing all the talking. So we know man doesn't die. We know that. Definitely know that.
Yep.
But we do know that people murdered him.
Oh, absolutely.
We know man doesn't die, but we know he got murdered. His physical shell is not him. We know this. He was there.
Even though he had that smile on his face. He was smiling.
He was smiling.
He was smiling.
That's what we're saying. He's free. He knew he was free at that point. As what? True freedom is what? Death, ain't it?
Yep. Okay. Absolutely. No. Death is a friend. Death is a friend.
So trust me, we know. If anybody has any stuff, there's the link. You can give your honors to El-Hajj if he did something for you. Just push the link right there, and give your piece to the man. Yo, you know they had to do it.
He wasn't doing it.
They had to do it.
That speech you're playing right now, crazy.
Yo,
crazy. Because I'm like, like if they would have went that way, if NOI would have went the way El-Hajj went, they wouldn't be able to get federal funding from us going to these jails, so-called jails.
Yeah, but even that by that time, 60s, they were done already. They were already done.
Yep.
They're already done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
Because remember, he was the one that found out stuff that made him say forget this, and other people said forget this too. It's not like they did a Khalid Muhammad on him, where they kicked him out or whatever, or suspended him or whatever like that. You know what I mean? They played their little suspension, whatever, but he already knew that he was out of there. He wasn't playing around with them, with their little games, little rulership games that they're playing. I'm going around this place.
Even Elijah's son bounced.
Yeah, giving you honors to the high heavens, and then you're treating me like I'm some little lap boy. Forget this, yo. What do you think this is? You knew that he was out.
He let Farrakhan play the game.
Yeah, that was next man up. Him and Muhammad Ali, next man up. You know what I mean? And then Muhammad Ali was focused on boxing, so it couldn't be him. He had his career to deal with. You know, I wasn't no issue, and he left too.
Yep, and Khalid said, "I'm a Moor." They said, "We can't use him neither."
Can't use him. Get him out the way. Get him out the way. What happened to all the? Where's all the sellouts at? You know. Then they started popping up. And they started popping up. Don't forget, if you want to put anything out there for El Haj, just hit the link in the chat.
People are begging for civil rights, or they are labeling their struggle for freedom, justice, and equality under the label of civil rights, then what they do is leave us in the jurisdiction of Uncle Sam's court. And it's actually Uncle Sam who is guilty of all of the violation of our rights that have taken place in this country. So when you go to Uncle Sam to try and get some kind of redress over civil rights violations, you're taking your...
And keep in mind, he's saying Uncle Sam for you dumb niggers. Because if he knows jurisdiction and all that stuff, trust me, he knows status. And he knows that ain't no Uncle Sam, no American. That's European colonists.
Right.
That's Inquisitionists. Yep. He knows about the Moors in Spain, and they're the ones who gave civilization to the whatever and all that. If he knows all that, trust me, he knows that that's not no Uncle Sam. They know Uncle Sam. He's saying that for you dumb niggers out there who haven't studied, who don't know what's up, who want to keep calling him Malcolm X after he declared his nationality and said he's Malik al-Shabbazz, and you still want to play games. Go ahead, Moor. I don't like talking about El Haj. It gets me mad.
Yo, I told you earlier, Gracie, soon as El Haj, he's gonna kill him today. He's gonna kill him. Because it bugs me out that they could just, because it's just the whole thing, man. Like, how y'all try to act like he wasn't talking about the Moors? Like, y'all know he was talking about the Moors, and that's exactly why they had to get rid of. Because I'm just so, the way he's speaking right now in his speech, it's like, yo, how y'all all knew, and that's exactly why they had to get rid of him. This is just like common sense now. I'm like, wow, yeah, they was on their way to come get rid of El Haj. They was on their way because he's talking like a Moor. He really had and that's what we say. And when they put it in the movie, and he keeps saying, "You got your hands in my pocket." That's what I said a couple months ago. Moors got, when we come out and we be saying, Aboriginal, indigenous to the land and all of that, we got our hands in their pocket.
Yeah.
Because they make funds off of us being dumb nigger. Man wouldn't even let me work with him no more because he a Prince Hall, and now, he knows that I'm a Moor, and he knows that I know you can't play the buffoonery with me and all of those games. You can't impress me with nothing, like, because I just study, and I know you're supposed to know the sciences, and you playing games. So he wouldn't let me work with him no more. It wasn't, I was the best worker.
Yeah.
I knew I was. He hiring, people that'll work for beers and all of that stuff. Now, like, I'm only here because, I'm trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Be on my own, be self-sufficient. I could have stayed doing this with the European. I was there almost 10 years. No problem. You go work for your own, and you know who you are? Oh, no. Nope. They're worse than the European. Worse than the European. And they all know. His best friend, the dude I used to work with, was in the Nation of Islam out here. he straight up out his mouth. He said, because his friend told him, oh, he's a Moor. And he said, oh, Noble Drew Ali? And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Like, because they all know. They all know. Grand Sheik, you was here.
I was just gonna say, I keep forgetting.
You was here.
I keep
you know why I came right up to the Grand Sheik and bowed to him and the Moabites. Bowed to him and told him if it wasn't for y'all, it wouldn't be none of this. They was having a big old cookout thing that they have here every year during the summer. And the Grand Sheik had came visit and showed up. All the Moors showed up, feathers up, killing them. And the NOI is being security at the door. And they had to come make their rounds and come give homage to the Moors. But then, for some reason, once we get on camera and their leader goes up there, everybody's playing games. but behind closed doors, they all know the truth.
They all know.
They all of them know.
All of them know.
But they can't have their titles.
And that was a real one?
Yep.
That was a real one because it was like, because there was also the Hebrew thing too that was going on. And he was hating. He was mad. He was upset.
Mad.
He was
Grand Sheik.
Yeah.
That whole thing. That's my Moabite's father's best friend. That Hebrew guy. I told you. That's his best friend. Ever since we had that lecture at that place and shut down that Hebrew Israelite stuff, he don't even talk to my Moabite's father anymore.
Like that.
He don't even. He was that mad. That mad.
Yeah, he was mad.
Mad. They were best friends because you go up there, you got your hands in their pocket. All this, y'all playing games. You got the women in here all scared to speak. They didn't want to answer no questions. They was just whatever the imam said. That's what we agree with. Literally saying that. Not, oh, that's what I'm thinking. They were thinking. No, they were saying that. They were saying that. All of them. El Hajj is the best, man.
Oh,
he got rid of all of that stuff in the 60s.
Got rid of it all. Give you an example. Give you an example to follow. Like a real.
Oh yeah, the Uncle Sam thing. You killed it already.
Yeah, a real true and living example of what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, had his nationality declared, and he was ready to go.
Yeah.
But what did the man say? Yeah. What did the man say? Fingers left over?
Say that again?
What did the man say? Fingers left over?
Oh, fingers left over. Fingers left over. I'm glad you went on that, picked up on how he kept saying Uncle Sam, because now he's in the knowing. If it was in his earlier speeches, it's the white devil this, the white man that, the devil this. Nope. Uncle Sam. Somebody know who somebody is now. Somebody knows who somebody is now.
Case to the man who's responsible for the violation. So the only way our people can really get some meaningful results, it has to be taken out of Uncle Sam's hand and taken into a world court. And the world court that has been set up to listen to the complaints of human rights violations in the United Nations. Human rights are international, and civil rights come within the jurisdiction of the country where these.
What? What do you mean he's not a Moor? What do you mean Malcolm X? I'll listen to that again. But that sounded so Moorish.
And taken into a world court. And the world court that has been set up to listen to the complaints of human rights violations in the United Nations. Human rights are international, and civil rights come within the jurisdiction of the country where these rights are violated. Some people may wonder why our brothers from Africa and Asia have not spoken out more boldly or without compromise on the injustices that the 22 million Afro-Americans experience in this country. They can't speak out. As long as these injustices are labeled by us as civil rights, then this remains a domestic issue and none of our people from abroad, because of protocol, can become involved in Uncle Sam's domestic problems. So all the civil rights groups have to do is expand the struggle from civil rights to human law, can become involved in Uncle Sam's domestic problems. So all the civil rights groups have to do are labeled by us as civil rights.
Did you hear the breakdown for why?
What? That's what I was going to play over. Hold on. Let's play over. Yep, they're playing again.
It's a domestic issue, and none of our people from abroad have not spoken out in Sam's hand and taken into a world court. And the world court that has been set up to listen to the complaints of human rights violations is in the United Nations. Human rights are international, and civil rights come within the jurisdiction of the countries where these rights are violated. Some people may wonder why our brothers from Africa and Asia have not spoken out more boldly or without compromise on the injustices that the 22 million.
Don't forget, not his African brothers and Asian brothers, his brothers from Africa and Asia.
And Afro-Americans experience in this country. They can't speak out. As long as these injustices are labeled by us as civil rights, then this remains a domestic issue, and none of our people from abroad, because of protocol, can become involved in Uncle Sam's domestic problems.
Islam, Grand Street.
Islam,
you see it right there?
Yep.
Because of us, of what we doing to ourselves, ain't nobody come help us. Y'all doing that to us. We doing this to ourselves. They out here, what do you mean? You guys want to be dumb nigger. How are we going to help? You guys want to be dumb niggers. You guys don't want to be helped. You guys like being dumb niggers. What do you mean help you? Like, you guys wanted to keep pushing this civil rights, keep pushing this African-American, Black, Negro, Afro-American crap. We can't help you. You took yourself outside of the human family.
And what did he say that it is? He said because of protocol, because there's already a standard that's already established that if you're stateless, they put, like Taj said, they put a glass between you and them and make finance forever. If you're stateless, that's how the people outside of here are trained to deal with our people. That's the protocol he's talking about. That their view when they get over here is, oh, see those niggers? They're the biggest consumers on the world. You could make gazillions off of them. You don't even have to market to them. Just be in their area and they'll buy. And then the mom and pop spots that's been there for 50,000 years, they never support those, but they'll burn those down in a riot and not touch the Chinaman store. Not touch the Turk store, the Greek store, but they'll burn down grandma's old restaurant. Playing games. You don't go burn down anything that did anything to them.
Nope. You know it. They'll burn down grandma's spot because grandma ain't let you bum a Lucy off credit or something like that. Now you burning down grandma's stuff.
Petty ones like that.
Because the Arab brothers, they'll give you that. Because they want you to keep coming. Grandma needs those notes to keep this lights on and stuff. Because she's not killing it like the Arabs.
Exactly. The Arabs got their protocol when they got over here. No.
Grandma don't got the spots. The so-called Arabs out here, they rotate.
They got 50 spots.
And they rotate them. Next thing you know, it'll be like 2 years, I'll see the brothers that's right next to me up the street on Boston Road or something like that. And I'm like, when y'all? And then I started watching after a couple of years. I'm like, oh, y'all rotating.
Yeah.
Y'all really rotating each gas station, whatever. And I'm like, there has to be something with them avoiding something with them rotating the owners.
Mm-hmm.
They figuring out something. But my thing is, but grandma don't know nothing about that.
Yeah.
she can't. So she's struggling. She don't know the little
the little loopholes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She don't know that. So she's doing everything straight up. So she can't let you bum that Lucy.
And then
get that off credit.
And then for Moors now, who take the position of saying, okay, well, we're gonna go try to get some finance from them, use our free national, whatever, because they gave it to the foreigners, is why you can't get anything. Because that was really supposed to be yours. But you're playing that you don't want. So they say, all right, well, these people want to be nigger. Foreigners, come on over. We got grant money for you. We got all types of stuff for you. Because obviously these niggers don't want their stuff that they claim is owed to them. And they don't get that. They can't get it under civil rights. That has to be given back to them under human rights. Come on over. You got nationality? Oh boy, yeah, come on down. We could use you. Build up our society, make it multicultural and all that. Playing you.
So all the civil rights groups have to do is expand the struggle from civil rights to human rights. And once it is expanded to the level of human rights, then this puts us in a position to charge Uncle Sam with violating the UN Charter on Human Rights. We can take it before the United Nations, and other nations of this earth can then side with us and indict Uncle Sam for the mistreatment of 22 million Afro-Americans. The very fact that the struggle of the black people in South Africa, or I should say the injustices that has been experienced by black people in South Africa has come before the UN, or the injustices experienced by our own people, again, in Angola has been brought before the UN. Even the oppression of the Hungarians has been brought before the UN. The plight of the Jews in Soviet Russia, and there's only 3 million of them in Russia, has been brought before the UN. Well, then why hasn't the problem of the 22 million Afro-Americans come before the United Nations? It has not come before them because the leaders of the civil rights struggle don't understand what civil rights actually amount to. When they are mature to the point of the Hungarians,
Low-key called them out. Low-key called all of them out. Low-key called them all out. If anybody is talking about civil rights, not human rights, they're playing you. If anybody is talking about civil rights, or let's say it like this, if anybody's not talking human rights, they're a sellout. Put it like that. Because there's wiggle room if we go the other way. But if you don't hear them say human rights, know that they're selling you out. Know that without a shadow of a doubt that they're selling you out. And that it's intentional. And it's intentional. They know what they're doing. It's not like they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're just taking that fraudulent position.
Experience by our own people, again, in Angola has been brought before the UN. Even the oppression of the Hungarians has been brought before the UN. The plight of the Jews in Soviet Russia, and there's only 3 million of them in Russia, has been brought before the UN. Well, then why hasn't the problem of the 22 million Afro-Americans come before the United Nations? It has not come before them because the leaders of the civil rights struggle don't understand what civil rights actually amount to. When they are mature to the point where they can see that their present struggle has kept them under Uncle Sam's jurisdiction, and Uncle Sam is not morally capable of solving this problem, then they will shift it out of the courts of Uncle Sam and take it to the courts of the United Nations on the level of human rights, and we'll get some kind of meaningful result. As long as we keep it at the civil rights level, we alienate the support of our brothers and sisters in African nations. But when we shift it to the level of human rights, we have the support of billions.
Human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights. Human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights. If they're not talking like how he's talking right now, don't let them tell you about they honor him. If they're talking about Malcolm X and all that, don't let them tell you that they honor him. They don't honor him. If they honored him, they would declare their nationality and start moving toward human rights, just like Moors have been telling these people to do.
The black, brown, red, and yellow people from all over this earth behind us.
The United States is a great world power, and has in the past exercised a lot of control and power within the United Nations. So how can you expect to wage a successful battle against such a powerful country in a world court?
Well, whenever you believe in what the United States has taught us concerning democracy, which means one voice, one vote, this is good, because in the present world setup, world governmental setup, as is represented by the United Nations, each country there has one vote, which means that no matter how wealthy a nation is, it only has one vote. And no matter how poor a nation is, it still has one vote. So the ballot actually equalizes the poor man and the rich man. Back when the United Nations was set up, it consisted largely of white nations, because most of the dark nations were then colonized and weren't independent. Since the dark nations have gained their independence and have emerged on the scene, today in the UN, you have more dark nations who are in a position to vote in a bloc.
Now, come on, he's saying dark so much, and he's not saying that he's not saying anything. In every place where you would say black, he's saying dark, and you're playing games. How much times does he have to say dark?
I never heard black or white yet. I ain't had black or white yet.
A successful battle against such a powerful country in a world court.
Well, whenever you believe in what the United States has taught us concerning democracy, which means one voice, one vote, this is good, because in the present world setup, world governmental setup, as is represented by the United Nations, each country there has one vote, which means that no matter how wealthy a nation is, it only has one vote. And no matter how poor a nation is, it still has one vote. So the ballot actually equalizes the poor man and the rich man. Back when the United Nations was set up, it consisted largely of white nations, because most of the dark nations were then colonized and weren't independent. Since the dark nations have gained their independence, and has one vote. And no matter how poor a nation is, it still has one vote. So the ballot actually equalizes the poor man and the rich man. Back when the United Nations was set up, it consisted largely of white nations, because most of the dark nations were then colonized and weren't independent. Since the dark nations have gained their independence and have emerged on the scene, today in the UN, you have more dark nations who are in a position to vote in a bloc than you have white nations. So that we have a situation now where the grouping together of the dark nations who formerly were colonized has given them enough political power to offset the military power and prestige of these mighty white nations of the West. And it is their support. It is only in the United Nations, where everyone has the doubt, where everyone has equal vote, that the plight of the black man can be given a just hearing, and the weight of the dark world can become down on our side and balance the scales on our side. Whenever you take it into the white man's court, you never will get justice, because the white man is the guilty one.
Need more?
It's
not more.
Talking just like I know it's killing them to say white. You could, in the beginning when he was saying, he was like, the white nations, and I'm like, yeah. It's killing you. I know it is, because you don't want to say it, but you got to say it, because all of these people here, they ain't gonna know what you're talking about if you call him something else. You could have kept saying Uncle Sam, but now he's on fire right now. You can hear it, like he's rising up now. You know, because usually that happens to me too. Once I start getting fired up and I'm not calm, I'm not thinking clear. You know, I'll start talking regular.
Yeah.
You know, because now I'm trying to express myself even further.
Right.
But you know, I could tell like he started getting hot. Like, let me explain this to y'all.
Amazing.
Because I never heard the breakdown the way he's breaking it down.
Yeah.
You know, because when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, Europeans made this whole thing up, and then now I hear Hodge the way he's breaking it down. It's like, yeah. But there is dark-skinned nations in there, and the way that this voting thing goes on, I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. I didn't know that.
And if he's looking at it from that perspective back then, right? It's really about bringing your position forth as an individual who went to Hajj, met majority of these people in your travels when you're over there already. So you already got the vote. All you need to do is take it to the UN. Vote's already gotten. Well, nah, Negroes are always late. Black time. Oh, no, we're black. We're black. We can be late. It's black time. Ha 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 ha. It's black time. Black time. You know, black people, we just never get on there on time.
Yep. Yeah. That disgusts me too, man. The thing I like despise the most is when they try to make a joke out of their ignorance.
Yeah.
It's like, stop doing that, man. It's not a joke. Like the dude, my neighbor, seen some young children or whatever eating their McDonald's right in front of his house, just threw it out in front of the yard. Threw it right there in front of his yard. And he be outside cleaning hard in front of his house. He came out storming, yelling at them children. And the girl goes, "What are you, about the community or something?" And I'm like, what? Why? That was so ignorant. Like, are you serious? Like,
that's your response.
So because he's doing the right thing, you're gonna try to degrade him by saying, "What are you, about the community or something?" You look stupid saying that. Like, yeah, he wants the street to look clean. Like, why are you demeaning him by saying, "What do you want the street to be clean?" Because that's basically what you're saying. What are you, about the community?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's about keeping the streets clean. Yes,
that's the people. That's the people who you know don't wash their ass. That's those people. Those are the people who don't have their freaking breath stinks and all that shit. As soon as they breathe, you smell their breath and all that. Them people.
Yep.
That's those people right there.
Yep. That reminds me of my friend from back in the day. He don't never speak anymore, but he used to judge his, like, if he wanted to talk to a lady, he would judge him. He would shout a number. He was like, she's probably about a 310er, a 320er. And in the beginning, I'm like, what the heck he talking about? And then, my boy finally asks him, like, yo, why you be saying these numbers? He was like, well, it's 365 days in a year. She probably take about 280 showers. And I was like, oh, that's nasty. Like, that's nasty. Like, you just thinking about how many, like, she don't look like she washed herself that much, so I'm not going to talk to her. I was like, oh, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're saying, oh, she's about a 280. And I'm like, come on. Because they ain't washing. They ain't washing. Everybody want to wash their hands now. And I'm like, what was y'all doing? So what was y'all doing before?
Yeah.
Nobody was washing before?
I don't. Everybody just start washing their hands because of COVID and shit.
My boy come over here with gloves and mask on, washing his hands with gloves on. And I'm like, yo, what did you do? Oh, I know how you are. But, people really are nasty out here. And I was like, but they was nasty before you put them gloves on.
That's it. Wash his hands with the gloves.
With the gloves. I seen some ridiculous stuff. I seen the lady, she was cashing out at the store. She put the hand sanitizer in her hand because she was using the debit card machine, right? She put the now she got gloves on. She got gloves on. She put the sanitizer on her gloves in her hand. And then took the hand sanitizer and squirted the ATM machine and then pressed the buttons. I said, yo, that was crazy.
What the hell?
Everything you just
That's crazy.
That was crazy.
She was thinking too hard.
That was crazy.
Yeah, she was thinking too hard.
I've seen the craziest stuff. I've seen lady come in there with a SWAT shield on her face. The police shield they wearing on their face. She had that on in the store. I was like, dang, man, this is crazy. And she looking at me because I ain't got no mask. Come on, you know that. I don't mind what other people do. Just like I don't mind what other people do, don't mind what I do. Don't be looking at me. I don't care that you got that thing on your face. I'm not putting it on my face. So, but don't worry about me. You got the mask on and gloves on. You good? Why you worried about me? You all covered up.
Yep.
This whole thing, I know it's off subject, but man, this mask stuff has been killing me. I can't even go to the store because I'm not wearing it. So I'll be like, try to avoid going to the store as much as possible. Like, oh, okay, because I'm not wearing that. So I found one store, and of course, brothers from the East, nobody in there got a mask on. And I'm like, oh, I found it. And they're like, oh, no. If there's a problem, call Trump. I was dying laughing. He said, if you got a problem with it, call Trump.
Call Trump, yeah.
We ain't wearing no mask in here. And I'm like, okay, this is where I want to be. But everywhere else, problems. I told you, the more Moabitess, I'm walking past her. She gonna tell me, oh, you're gonna have to put a mask on, black man. I was like, yo, are you serious?
You're a fez up? You're a fez up or turban up or something?
Yes, man. Turban up. The whole shebang, not the half, the bang, the Montezuma turban, you know what I mean? The joint. And she's gonna call, she was like, you're gonna have to put a mask on, black man. And I was like, first thing, I'm not black. She was like, well, whatever you are, king, you're gonna have to put a mask on. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous that I have to go through this. So now I just told you, now she don't work there. She a customer. She don't even work there and telling me I gotta put a mask on.
And the guy who worked there is freaking taking you to the store.
He's taking that's why I saved the part for last, because the whole time the clerk, I came in the store, I asked him, yo, where's the soap set in the back, the clothes washing detergent? And he was like, oh, I'll bring it. So he's showing me no mask on. I ain't got no mask, no gloves, no nothing. He's bringing me to the joint. As I walk past the customer, she's the one that tells me to put a mask on. The dude in the store who running the store, nothing. No, oh, you can't come in here, you ain't got a mask on. Didn't say a word. Didn't say customers.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's bugging me out, man. I'm like, yo, it's the people. It's the people.
The people, yeah.
The people. I go in the Lowe's, I do my garden and stuff right in the Lowe's. Lowe's, you ain't gotta have no mask. Well, out here, you didn't have to have the mask. So I go in there, get my stuff. Now, mind you, I already done went in, but I'm buying center blocks. So I only can carry 12 at a time in the carriage. So I'm coming back to get my other 12. I already done cashed out, left. I'm coming back to get my other 12. As I come back in the front, everybody's just standing there in the front. So I stop and I'm like, we can't come in because everybody's standing there in the front. And they was like, oh, no, we can come in. And then I come in and all of a sudden I hear, but you got to put a mask on. And then I look, a brother, about 350 pounds, sitting there. And I'm looking at him like, I got to put a mask, brother, you 350 pounds, you eat pork, and you telling me I got to put a mask? Like, no. How could you don't even, like, and then I'm like, you don't even work here. Another one, you don't even work here. You a customer. You a customer. You don't even work here. I kept telling them, and you know how we know. Have a nice day. How about that? Have a nice day. You know we know what nice means. Killing them with it. Like, yo, come on, man. Like, you're not even minding. Hey, oh, yeah, that's what he was saying. When the governor passed the law, I said, a law? A law? A law? What's the law? You don't even know the law. What's the law? The Constitution is the law. That's the supreme law of the land. Have a nice day.
Governor passed the law. What's the law?
What's the law? You don't even know the law. You don't even know the law. You know the governor passed the law. What's the law? You don't even know the law.
Oh my gosh.
It's the people. And I'm like, I'm coming home, I'm more like, what happened? Because I just wanted to terrorize the whole, everything. Everybody's getting, Walmart, the security guard wouldn't let me in, man. Walmart had the time of their life that day because they was getting it. I had to tell the security guard, He's selling out. Like, they had me mad, man, because, of course, security guards is the Moor. As soon as I come in, oh, you can't come in here. You ain't got no mask on. What? Like, relax. All right. Like, I'm not wearing no mask. Like, I'm not wearing no mask, but you being real. Oh, you're not. And then as soon as I was like, I'm not wearing no mask, and I'm trying to walk, he go right on the walkie-talkie. Oh, we have somebody here. And I'm looking at him like, okay, he's doing too much. He's calling people in. Now I'm mad. So as soon as they come, of course, European, now I'm stinging them. You called your master on me? Like, you know, so mad. You called your master? Like, this is your master. You called your master on me? Like, I was so mad. Like, you couldn't deal with it. You called her. You're 6'4". Gracie, this guy had me, I was so mad at this man. Like, because they're not even like, everybody knows what security people I'm talking about at Walmart. They're application fill out people. They're not real. Yeah. You fill out application. And I'm telling him that. You're not a real, but the thing was, he's in there thinking he's RoboCop.
He's the man. Yeah.
The black boots tied all the way up to the knees, tight. He got the army fatigue pants on, the army fatigue, like, and I'm like, and I had to ask him, I said, why you wearing that security outfit? Everybody else got on the regular uniform. He got on his regular, he got on New Balances. Why you got on boots tied all the way to your knees? He had me mad.
This one went
off.
off.
You're not a highwayman. You wanted to be a police officer. You didn't make it. Now you bothering people being security. Like, that's what this whole thing is about. And he just sitting there, quiet.
Taking it.
Quiet.
Taking
not saying a word. Not saying a word. And then the lady comes over, oh, what's the problem, sir? Oh, I don't have a problem with you. It's my own I have a problem with. It's always my own. That's always the problem. I didn't have a problem with you. You came over here. Oh, what's the problem, sir? I don't have a problem with you. It's this man that looks like me that ran in front of me. Oh, you ain't coming in here. And then she said, well, just put your hood on. I put my hood over my turban and was like, that's it? She said, yeah, you fine. I said, why didn't you say that?
What?
You came in here. I didn't like,
what do you mean? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Before we even go anywhere.
That's exactly how,
Before we even
put your hoodie on.
Before we even go anywhere. Hold on a second. Okay. Killing them. Now, how come nobody never told anybody that hoods could stop corona? Since when? Since when a hood stops corona? Hood stops corona? Oh my gosh, hood stops corona. Everybody has a hooded sweater at home. Everybody has a hood, something with a hood on it. Hood stops corona. Who's that super security that you talk to? What's she know? What does she know?
He pays Walmart manager. It's not because like this said, it's just some people that fill out job application. Like your supervisor is the Walmart supervisor. You're not nobody. That's why I'm like, you thinking backup was gonna come? Nope. A lady in a blue vest. Like, no.
Did she have the boots? Did she have the boots or New Balances?
She came over here with them Crockers on. Them Crockers, whatever they call them. Whatever they call it. Go just put your hood on. I put my hood on, and that's all I had to do. Why didn't you tell me that?
What the hell is this, yo? Put your hood on. And so hold on a second. So when you put the hood on, everything was good? You good?
Everything, see, to the point. I put the hood on and looked at her and said, that's it? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, why didn't you say that? I was bored. Why didn't you say that?
Oh, now you're extra mad about it now.
Oh, you know
now you're extra mad. I could have been in the store 10 minutes. You playing around?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you know I'm mad. People behind me, excuse me, sir, we're trying to get in. Nobody's getting in. Nobody's getting in. I had to do the whole, back in the day, if I ain't getting in the club, ain't nobody getting in the club. Like, that's how it was going down. I had to pull off that. No, ma'am, you can't come in today. Walmart has an issue. They're trying to deny me of my rights from coming in here. Like, it's discrimination. Ain't none of this going down. If I can't come in here unless I have a mask on. In my head, you just told me Negroes drink from this fountain, and that's not going down. I'm not drinking from that fountain. Like, that's where my mind goes. Everybody else can do what they do. But my mind, nah, I'm not drinking from that fountain. And I'm coming in here. I'm walking around the store with my hoodie on. Everybody else mask on, looking crazy. And I'm leaving, right? You know, he had me mad, Rich. That's the only reason why. I should have took control of my emotions. But man, it's the mask thing.
That one, you took one for the team so we can get that good laugh right now.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving the store. I'm leaving. He's still out there bothering people, talking about, oh, nah, you can't come in here. You ain't got no mask on. I'm pushing my carriage, yelling. He's lying. I just came out with all my stuff. I ain't got no mask. He's lying. He's lying. He ain't got no mask. You ain't gotta go. No. Don't go back to your truck. No. Just go ahead. You all set. Put your hood on.
Just put your hood on. Hood stops Corona. You didn't hear it? Riding the horse. Just telling everybody. Hood stops Corona.
Yeah, she said, well, just put your hood on. Like, and looked at her. Like, I had my hoodie sit in my hand with it on my head, looking at her. Like, that's it. She was like, yeah. I was like, oh, why didn't you say that?
Oh, snap. What the hell is going on?
Yo, the hood stops Corona. That's out here near my jurisdiction. I don't know where else.
Hey, you already know, boys. That'll be the next one. That'll be the one to try now. Everywhere else you go, they say no mask. No, man, you didn't hear. You can wear a hood.
Just kill it.
And the whole place messed up.
They said it on the news. You know, that's all they say. They be like, yo, who said that? They said it on TV. Oh, okay. So now.
Oh my gosh, what the hell?
You ain't on the news? Yo, you good. You just need your hood. All you gotta do is start telling people that. They're gonna believe you. They're gonna believe you. They're gonna believe you, man. You know they're gonna believe you. You know they're gonna believe you. Yo, you good? You just put your hood on. You don't need put your hood on.
What the hell? Oh my gosh. Who's gonna be the first people to try that out? I'm trying to think who I can send that message to. You could wear your hood.
I forgot to tell you that too. I never even told you this. I never told you this. This happened like 4 days ago.
Oh my
like 4 days ago.
That was freaking funny. So you're mad.
Mad.
Big mad.
Okay. You know, little Yusuf giving my Moor bite problems. Little Yusuf giving my Moor bite problems because Daddy don't wear no mask.
You know what you do? You'll get it. Just put the turban on. Make the turban mask. Just let him do the turban mask.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Just let him do the turban mask. He'll love that one. The ninja. Get up the ninja mask. You have to make a paper sword. The ninja mask.
Yeah.
Have him go all the way.
That's his first line you say. But Daddy ain't gotta wear a mask. Well, stay here with your dad then, all right? I want to wear because he sees me. You know what I mean? Putting that much energy into I would never wear a mask. So he's like, well, if my dad's not wearing it, I'm definitely not wearing it.
Yeah. And back to our regularly scheduled.
Yo, I'm sorry, Gracie.
Yo, it's all. it's all part of the divine plan, yo. You needed that. Moor's in the chat. I know I needed that. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Honors to Malik Shabbazz.
You committed the crime in the first place. It's like taking your case from the wolf to the fox to take it to Washington, D.C.
I don't think I wholeheartedly go along with that, Mr. Malcolm. I have some appreciation for your discussion as regards to the human right and the civil right. But here in America, as a band of Negroes, I think the most progressive thinking that we could possibly attain is civil rights. This is the thing that we want. This is the thing that we hope to get. This is the thing that we're going out to fight for. Without our civil rights, the human rights, and the rest of the elements are non-entities as far as
human rights come before civil rights.
That may be so, but the civil rights are an important factor. Whether they never get.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like when you tell somebody that they're not black, and they're trying to convince you. Human rights come before civil rights. No, it doesn't matter because the civil rights is where we're supposed to get the. What are you talking about? Human rights come before civil rights. And then if you have human rights, why would you even want civil rights? You need civil rights at that point. If you got human rights. We're showing you he was there. Malik Shabbazz. He was there. He knew. He put his nationality on the record. It's you people that don't call him Malik Shabbazz. Still calling him Malcolm X. And then don't honor him, but don't want to do what he did, which is declare his nationality.
Rights come before civil rights.
That may be so, but the civil rights are an important factor.
You can never get civil rights until you have human rights. Human rights represent the right to be a human being. Whenever you are respected and recognized as a human being, your civil rights are automatic.
But if we get civil rights, we are human beings.
No, you have to get the recognition of human rights first. This is why people can come here from Africa and Asia and immediately are able to benefit from what the Constitution stands for because they are recognized as a human being when they.
You told me he's not a Moor? Shit. Honors to Malik Shabbazz. Honors.
Is civil rights. This is the thing that we want. This is the thing that we hope to get. This is the thing that we're going out to fight for. Without our civil rights, the human rights, and the rest of the elements are non-entities as far as
human rights come before civil rights.
That may be so, but the civil rights are an important factor.
You can never get civil rights until you have human rights. Human rights represent the right to be a human being. Whenever you are respected and recognized as a human being, your civil rights are automatic.
But if we get civil rights, we are human beings.
No, you have to get the recognition of human rights first. This is why
this is a lot more.
Yeah, I love when they do that part, Greg Sheet. When they when he's trying to he said that may be true, but like wait a minute. Well, if it's true, there's no but.
There's no but.
Like,
where is that but coming from? Where is that but coming from?
Yeah. All I'm hearing is a more like exactly what you said. That's like you trying to explain to these people they're not black, and now you're telling them.
That was the
that might be true. That's true, but you know what we mean is the black of the darkness true figures. That's what he's sounding like right now.
Yeah. That's Seti versus Alim right now.
Right. But what we mean a fictional, and that's fiction. That's not true. Something you just made up in your head. Now the world's supposed to go along with that. You just made that up.
Yep. Made it up, and then tried to run with what they made up as being legitimate. And remember, this is 60s. You would swear that we're listening to some stuff from today. That interchange?
Absolutely.
You swear that was some stuff from today. Or more talking to anybody else out here trying to say we don't know what we're talking about as Moors. Anybody else? Telling you, human rights come before civil rights. Common sense was made before book sense. No, but book sense was the, what are you talking about? How? Just like the Moor said in the chat. As soon as you say but, debate's over.
Yep.
Because said truth. Truth stands supreme. If there's but after truth, you have serious mental problems. You need to go check yourself fast. You need to go check yourself fast.
People can come here from Africa and Asia and immediately are able to benefit from what the Constitution stands for, because they are recognized as a human being when they touch the shores of North America. But the black people in this country, all of our human characteristics were destroyed by slavery. Our language was destroyed. Our history was destroyed. Our culture was destroyed. And then the white man taught us that we were savages in the jungle and living at a subhuman level. And for this reason, when they put the Constitution together, they classified our people as 3/5 of a man, which meant subhuman, not a complete human being. And once our human characteristics were completely destroyed, this gave them justification for treating us like we were animals. And it also justified their selling us from plantation to plantation like you sell a horse and a cow and a bag of wheat. Why, George Washington himself, historically, is on record as having sold or having traded a black man for a keg of molasses, which shows you he didn't regard that black man as a human being. If the black man's human rights had been respected, he never could have been a slave here in America. And if his human rights had been historically is on record, which meant subhuman, not a complete human being. And once in Asia and immediately are able to benefit from what the Constitution stands for, because they are recognized as a human being when they touch the shores of North America. But the black people in this country, all of our human characteristics were destroyed by slavery from what the Constitution stands for, because they are recognized as a human being when they touch the shores of North America. But
right, so when they touch the shores of North America, they're human beings. This is what Noble Drew Ali was saying. That if everybody else has a free national name, how you come from somewhere across the Atlantic and then you get brought over here, and then when you get over here, you're called something different than what your forefathers were called. What the hell are you talking about? How that work? How you leave in one name and then you get here and you're a different name and you never question what happened to my name? Exact same message.
Yep. Playing games too. Because even if we accept the story with the slavery, they say that the slaves came from West Africa. Well, the Moors ruled West Africa.
Right.
So we know. So if anything, if you're saying you're a descendant of a slave, you're Moorish blood.
You're a descendant of a Moor.
Because the Moors historically ruled West Africa. So those are all Moors over there.
Yeah.
I love when Brother Sheldon did a beautiful video on that a couple of years ago, breaking that whole thing down. Shocked the world out of me. I was like, yeah, it was a common sense quickie. I was just about to say, that's just basically common sense. That's why it's a common sense quickie.
Light bulb. Explosion emoji.
That's why it's called common sense quickie. Because you like, it's just real simple. Boop, 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 boop. Easy. Done. That's it.
We're done. Hold on there. We're done. Party just starting.
Black people in this country, all of our human characteristics were destroyed by slavery. Our language was destroyed. Our history was destroyed. Our culture was destroyed. And then the white man taught us that we were savages in the jungle and living at a subhuman level. And for this reason, when they put the Constitution together, they classified our people as 3/5 of a man, which meant subhuman, not a complete human being. And once our human characteristics were completely destroyed, this gave them justification for treating us like we were animals. And it also justified their selling us from plantation to plantation like you sell a horse and a cow and a bag of wheat. Why, George Washington himself, historically, is on record as having sold or having traded a black man for a keg of molasses, which shows you he didn't regard that black man as a human being. If the black man's human rights had been respected, he never could have been a slave here in America, and if his human rights had been restored by the Emancipation Proclamation, automatically we would have been citizens right after the Civil War. So we must be regarded as human. Our human rights must be respected before we can ever be regarded as citizens and our civil rights be respected.
He told y'all. He told y'all. Just great to know that the Moor was, he was on it. He was on it.
I think a lot of people confused by the new Arabic name, El Hajj Malik El Shabbazz. This is always, I've always had the name on my passport, Malik El Shabbazz.
Huh? Do they use passport for identification? To show who passes the port? Oh, he said that has Malik El Shabbazz on it. All right. So if that has Malik El Shabbazz on it, that means he's probably exercising as that name.
Absolutely. You can get pulled over in your conveyance and get passport. You don't have to get, if you got a passport, that takes the place of a license.
So even though Malcolm X and all that, that was just a pseudonym. That was a pseudonym.
Break that down for me, Grand Chief, because as soon as you said that, my mind just went like, oh yeah, when you look at it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because of the mind state of the people.
Mm-hmm.
That he would lose all support from them if he came with that name. All support. They would automatically tie him to some Allah, mosque, salat, whatever. And they would say, forget that. And that was one of his downfalls. He gave them the pass to still use the sorcery name, which is how not only from the whole thing with always giving honors to Elijah Muhammad like he did something, even after, he's still giving honors. Gave them jurisdiction.
Right. Because those same people, I never hear them say the Honorable Hajj Malik El Shabbazz.
Never.
They never. And some of these people are Moors saying this. They'll say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Moors, big up Farrakhan, and just call him Malcolm X. Not the Honorable El Hajj Malik. They don't Honorable Malcolm X. They just say Malcolm X.
You're nobody. He's a nobody. He ain't nothing. You know,
but he was the guy.
Yep, he was the guy.
El Hajj Malik El Shabbazz. This is always, I've always had the name on my passport, Malik El Shabbazz. I only used it in the Muslim world. Well, Hajj is a title that is given to any Muslim who makes the pilgrimage to Mecca during the official Hajj season. One thing that I found in all of my travels was that
when he said Moorish world, Muslim world, I immediately thought the Moorish Empire, Moroccan Empire.
Yeah.
Like I use my title when I'm around other Moors. Like,
yeah.
When I'm in here trying to raise these people to know that they're Moors, I know I got to come in here as the Malcolm X thing, like you said.
Black
like
guy.
you said, yep.
Yeah. But people get caught up in the pseudo. That you shouldn't be caught up. He was doing that because you were a dumb nigger. He wasn't doing that because if that was the case, then he would have had it on he would have used that as the ID.
Yep.
Obviously, he pitched that. You're making him hold on to that. Matter of fact, you hold that. I'm Malik Shabbazz. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look upon us as their long-lost brothers. And America had actually tricked many of them into a hands-off policy by giving them the impression that she was honestly trying to do something to solve the problem. My argument over there was designed to prove that it is impossible for the United States government to solve the race problem. It's impossible.
Never have I witnessed such sincere hospitality and overwhelming spirit of true brotherhood as is practiced by people of all colors and races here in this ancient holy land, the home of Abraham, Muhammad, and all the other prophets of the Holy Scriptures. For the past week, I've been utterly speechless and spellbound by the graciousness I see displayed all around me by people of all colors. I've been blessed to visit the holy city of Mecca. I've made my 7 circuits around the Kaaba, led by a young Mutawaf named Muhammad. I drank water from the well of the Zamzam. I ran 7 times back and forth between the hills of Mount Al-Safa and Al-Marwa. I've prayed in the ancient city of Mina, and I've prayed on Mount Arafat. There were tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-white blondes to black-skinned Africans. But we were all participating in the same ritual, displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood that my experiences in America had led me to believe never could exist between the white and non-white. America needs to understand Islam because this is the one religion that erases from its society the race problem. Throughout my travels in the Muslim world, I have met, talked to, and even eaten with people who in America would have been considered white, but the white attitude was removed from their minds by the religion of Islam.
Right. What do you mean? The European attitude. Remember, he's still groggy. He's just getting out of his sleep when he's riding back from there. Remember, you're getting this real time. Like he's going through the transition of Negro mindset to something beyond that. What that is, I don't know yet, but I know I'm going in that direction because this is crazy that, you know what I mean? I would say that we could never get along as a people. While I'm here right now eating out of the same plate as a European, who I would say he was the devil last week. What type of shift is that? Think about what he actually went through, being where he came from, the lessons, and then going there and have to put all that BS away. What does it say? Put away your childish stuff. Put the toys away. Islam, Moor, you have anything to add?
I was just envisioning everything you were saying, just the fact that, you know, everything that he went through, you know, starting off as red, dealing with European women, and at that time, you know, they was doing that segregation and all of that stuff, you know, and then he, you know, got kidnapped, joined the NOI, and like you said, I was just picturing everything he went through to get to this point. And it just seems like as soon as you said it, I was like, man, we all got our, proclaim more. We got our own little journey story to get to where we got right now. You know what I mean? Like that really shocked me right there. I was like, yeah, I never looked at it like that. Like all he went through to get, the permit of the hair and all of that. Cause I'm looking at those. We do the same stuff now. You know what I mean? With going through all the dumb nigger stuff that we was doing with the 80 different pairs of Jordans, and got to get all the different types of
whatever
brand clothes, all of that. The conveyances. That just remind me of The Walk. Remember in The Walk in the Malcolm X movie where Denzel and Spike Lee was doing that crazy walk they were doing across the street? Looking crazy. That's how it's the same thing today, man. Like we don't walk like that regular. We walk. I know we don't because I don't walk like that. Like I don't walk with the whole Diddy Bop thing going on. You don't really walk like that, man. You know you don't really walk like that. We stand up right. You know what I mean? Walk with a demeanor. Or walk like a Moor. Your ancestors don't walk around with no Diddy Bop. Everybody knew they was who they. You didn't have to. That's the Moor.
Bop D.
And then you got to that level where, hold on, it's not what I thought. A lot of this stuff I was doing that I thought I was doing all on my own. I thought I was a tough guy, grown man, and all of that. It was really a setup for my own demise. That's what was going on. Like the whole time I was setting myself up to go down the hole. It's the same thing. For some, like El Hodge, somebody slid that dictionary in front of me, and I started seeing what words meant.
As soon as you know what a word means, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different thing. As soon as you see what words mean.
Speaking of word, everybody should go look up stimulus and stimulant. Go look up those words because everybody's talking about they getting their stimulus check. So go look up stimulus and you see the spell that you done got put under by definition. The whole thing is not what you thought. Not what you thought at all. It's a spell by definition.
Spellcasters.
I have never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together, irrespective of their color. You may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. This was not too difficult for me. Despite my firm convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds in. I have always kept an open mind, which is necessary to the flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. During the past 11 days here in the Muslim world, I've eaten from the same plate, drunk from the same glass, and slept in the same bed or in the same rug, while praying to the same God, with fellow Muslims, whose eyes were the bluest of blue, whose hair was the blondest of blonde, and whose skin was the whitest of white. And in the words and in the actions and the deeds of the white Muslims, I felt the same sincerity that I felt among the black African Muslims of Nigeria, Sudan, and Ghana. We were truly all the same brothers because their belief in one God had removed the white from their minds, the white from their behavior, and the white from their attitude. I could see from this that perhaps if white Americans could accept the oneness of God, then perhaps too they could accept the reality, the oneness of man, and cease to measure and hinder and harm others in terms of their differences in color. With racism plaguing America like an incurable cancer, the so-called Christian white American heart should be more receptive to a proven solution to such a destructive problem. Perhaps it could be in time to save America from imminent disaster. The same destruction brought upon Germany by racism that eventually destroyed the Germans themselves. Each hour here in the Holy Land enables me to have great spiritual insights into what is happening in America between black and whites. The American Negro never can be blamed for his racial animosities. He is only reacting to 400 years of the conscious racism of the American whites. But as racism leads America up to the suicide path, I do believe, from the experience that I've had with them, that the whites of the younger generation in the colleges and universities will see the handwriting on the walls, and many of them will turn to the spiritual path of truth, which is the only way left to America to ward off the disaster that racism inevitably must lead to. Never have I been so highly honored. Never have I been made to feel more humble and worthy. Who would believe the blessings that have been heaped upon an American Negro? A few nights ago, a man who would be called in America a white man, a United Nations diplomat, an ambassador, a companion of kings, gave me his hotel suite and his bed. Never would I have even thought or dreaming that I would ever be a recipient of such honors. Honors that in America would be bestowed upon a king, not a Negro. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. Sincerely, Al-Hajj Malik Al-Shabbazz, also known as Malcolm X.
So Malcolm became Al-Hajj Malik Shabbazz, who made Tawbah. He took his Shahada. He performed his Hajj. He said, on my way back from Mecca, I visited 7 countries, and the CIA, and the FBI, and the International Interpol Police, and others plotted to try to kill me at least 5 times. You don't have to ask yourself why they were plotting to kill this man.
If I recall, I pointed out that while I was at Mecca making the pilgrimage, I spoke about the brotherhood that existed at all levels and among all people who were there on that Hajj, who had accepted the religion of Islam. And I pointed out that for what it had done, what the religion of Islam had done for those people over there, despite their complexion differences, that it would probably do America well to study the religion of Islam, and perhaps it could drive some of the racism from this society as it has driven racism from the Muslim society.
Tried to kill me at least 5 times. You don't have to ask yourself why they were plotting to kill this man.
If I recall, I pointed out that while I was at Mecca making the pilgrimage, I spoke about the brotherhood that existed at all levels and among all people who were there on that Hajj, who had accepted the religion of Islam. And I pointed out that for what it had done, what the religion of Islam had done for those people over there, despite their complexion differences, that it would probably do America well to study the religion of Islam, and perhaps it could drive some of the racism from this society as it has driven racism from the Muslim society.
Al-Hajj.
They tried to kill him 5 times, yes.
Not even here. Over there. Not even here. And 5 is what they say. It could have been more than that.
times. And he still came back saying that Islam was the way.
Say that again?
I said he still came back saying Islam brought him together, you know, let him see stuff that he never saw here.
Yep.
You know, them trying to kill him 5 times, he seen that here. So he really didn't dwell on that. He really didn't dwell on that. He dwelled on the stuff he never seen.
Yeah.
So that's what he was going in on. Them hating on him and them degrading him and all. Oh, he goes through that every day over here. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's easy. That's easy. Sitting down, eating out of the same plate with the Europeans. Now, that's different. Like my boy said, you want to shock me? Walk in front of a train. That's walk in front of a train material right there.
You want to do something? You want to do something to make me say what the? Yeah.
Walk in front of that train. Because I'm looking at it too, because the Prophet brought this information from the 1913 to 1929, and then El-Hajj came on the scene from the 60s when he started doing his, because he was born in 25, but in the 60s, early 60s, 65 and whatnot, when he was doing his speeches, he was letting y'all know again, you know, we can't be under the jurisdiction with the Europeans, it's not civil rights, it's human rights. And when he's saying that and he's talking about the Constitution, that's all Noble Jawali.
All Noble Jawali. All Noble Jawali.
All of that is Noble Jawali.
All of it.
All of that. And again, like I said earlier, it frustrates me when they say, well, we got to meet the people where they're at. Nope, because the Prophet came in 1913 to 1929, and then El-Hajj killed y'all again in the 60s. So y'all had all the time in the world to get to where we're at so we can just speak the way we need to speak. Like, we should be all set. Good. My son, little Yusuf, should have been all set. I should have been. Grand Sheik should have been all set. Everybody in the chat right now, we should have came out the womb all set. Coming out the womb, getting wrapped in a turban, not that baby hospital thing they put on your head. Your child's born, you're getting wrapped in your turban. But all because of the sellout. Because of what they did to the Prophet in 1929, because of what they did to El-Hajj in 65, because of what they did to Khalil in whatever year, and it continues.
Mm-hmm. It continues.
If the federal government does not find it within its power and ability to investigate a criminal organization such as the Klan, then you and I are within our right to wire Secretary General Uthar of the United Nations and charge the federal government in this country behind Lyndon B. Johnson with being derelict in its duty to protect the human rights of 22 million black people in this country.
Please, stop the
does
BS.
not find it within its power and ability to investigate a criminal organization such as the Klan, then you and I are within our right to wire Secretary General Uthar of the United Nations and charge the federal government in this country behind Lyndon B. Johnson with being derelict in its duty to protect the human rights of 22 million black people in this country. And in their failure to protect our human rights, they are violating the United Nations Charter, and they are not qualified to continue to sit in their international body and talk about what human rights should be done in other countries on this earth. And once we are successful in uniting ourselves with our people all over the world, it puts us in a position where we no longer are a minority who can be abused and walked upon. We become a part of the majority. And then if this man over here plays too rough, we got some brothers who can play as rough as he.
and it doesn't enforce its own law because the color of a man's skin happens to become a part of the majority. And then if this man over here plays too rough, we got some brothers who can play as rough as he. Anytime you live in a society supposedly based upon law, and it doesn't enforce its own law because the color of a man's skin happens to be wrong, then I say those people are justified to resort to any means necessary to bring about justice where the government can't give them justice.
The young generation don't want to hear anything about the odds are against us. What do we care about odds? Wasn't nothing non-violent about old Pat or George Washington. Liberty or death was what brought about the freedom of whites in this country from the English.
I think that the day that the black man takes an uncompromising step and realizes that he's within his rights when his own freedom is being jeopardized to use any means necessary to bring about his freedom or put a halt to that injustice, I don't think he'll be by himself. I live in America where there are only 22 million blacks against probably 160 million whites. One of the reasons that I'm in no way reluctant or hesitant to do whatever is necessary to see that black people do something to protect themselves, I honestly believe that the day that they do, many whites will have more respect for them, and that there'll be more whites on their side than are now on their side with these little wishy-washy love thy enemy approach that they've been using up to now.
He was like you at the Lowe's or whatever. He's mad.
Yeah.
Super mad.
Yeah, playing these wishy-washy. We should
games.
love our enemy. BS. That's why they big up, Michael, Martin Luther King. That's why they big up him more than they big up El Hajj. Because he wasn't, when King got up there, he was preaching. When El Hajj got up there, he was mad. And stuff needed to get changed. Marching and praying and singing, "We shall overcome," like he said. El Hajj told him that "we shall overcome" stuff is no. Nationalism. Everybody else did it through nationalism. So we gonna do, and El Hajj told him this in the 60s. I remember, and they did not listen to El Hajj. They looked at him like he was like Jordan or Tyrese or what, like a celebrity. They didn't
take it as he's the savior.
Right. Even my father, my father walking around with the big old fist thing and all of that. The dashikis back in the day, and then y'all was still playing games though. Still going to the clubs. You're shaking and jiving. I told y'all in the 60s to stop jiving. He said stop jiving. Y'all still in the 60s? He said y'all gotta and get these people to stop jiving. They still jiving. They still jiving today. Still jiving, still pushing civil rights. None of them did nothing. Nothing. None of them, but all of them, they all, like you said, Glenn Sheik, they honor El Hajj. But none of them proclaim their nationality. All their passports say Smith, Jones, and Johnson. Or with no reservations of rights, none of that. Nothing. They didn't do anything. But they just want to, we honor Malcolm X. They don't even call him El Hajj. That's the non-honorable thing right there. Just by you calling him the pseudo name.
Shame on them.
Because we went over the X thing. I told him the boo X. X comes from Christian, Catholic Church and all of that. That's where it derives from. It came from. Like Christmas, the abbreviation for Christmas, which is Christ, Christian. The abbreviation for Christmas is Xmas. X. It goes for Christ, for Christian. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's clear as day. You can Google it. It's all. Don't even hide it. The origins of the letter X and the Catholic Church and Christianity. They break it all down for you. That's not so-called African. That's not what our ancestors did using X. That's Greek. Roman numerals and stuff. That's not what we was doing.
Yeah.
They don't even have the number 0 in the Roman alphabet. We created that. And they take on these X's, which has nothing to do with them. They don't even look it up. They just, Boys and Girls Club member. They like how these guys are standing outside, I guess, and now they want to join it. And I'm like, that's crazy. Nothing's getting done. You're going to start off at bean pie level. Like, that's crazy, man.
If I'm wrong, then you are racialist.
Black people should realize that freedom is something that they have when they're born. We want freedom by any means necessary. We want justice by any means necessary. We want equality by any means necessary. They've always said that I'm anti-white. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine. I'm not for anybody who tells black people to be nonviolent while nobody is telling white people to be nonviolent. I, for one, will join in with anyone. Don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, they had to get rid of El Hajj, man. They had to.
Couldn't have him around. We get it. We get it. Unfortunately, people weren't ready yet for that, as they never were, because every time they take the leader out, start back at 0. Because people been playing games. But we know what's up. So it's all
they know.
it's
they
all
know
gravy.
what's up. And they know what's up.
It's all gravy.
Noor Majid told you in his book that he wrote in 2008 that in the 20th century, that African Americans are going to start living in their Moorish history. Noor Majid told you that.
Mm-hmm.
He knows because they know. They all know. But Noor Majid knows, and he's from over there. He's from over there, and he knows that us here in the 20th century. He wrote this in 2008. He knew in 2008 by the activity that was going on with the Moors back then that it's time. It's about to be time. They about to start. All of them are about to start being Moors. All of them. He told you the Mexicans, the Chinese, the Cuba. All he named it. Noor Majid did it all, telling you. The whole planet, breaking it down, showing you how it's the Moroccan Empire, breaking it down, telling you so-called Chinese people over there talking about all they know is Muhammad and I'm a Moor and my father was a Moor. That's all they know. That's all in China. That's what they talking about. I'm a Moor. and my father was a Moor. That's all they know. This in China, they talking like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Before we close out, I forgot about the reminder to the black guys. Since you honor El Hajj, I'll give you some people who you're more familiar with. Let them tell you.
Charles Barkley was involved. You mentioned Ferguson earlier. He was involved in the Ferguson debate, and he made comments that caused some uproar in the black community. Real quick, this is what Barkley said.
Okay.
We as black people, we got a lot of crooks. We can't just wait until something like this happens. And we have to look ourselves in the mirror. There's a reason they racially profile us at times. Sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes it's right. So to act and sit there and act like we hold no responsibility for some of this stuff, it's disingenuous.
I know you got to run, but what did you make of Barkley's comments?
I echo his sentiments exactly. We need to look in our mirror ourselves, stop waiting on someone to come march on our behalf, take ownership in ourselves, make our community better, stop looking for a handout, do something about it yourself that you can control, all right? And stop using the excuse about race, all right? I am sick and tired that every time you turn around, that's what we dangle. Everybody can dangle. Last but not least, race goes both ways. It really goes both ways.
So when you saw something like Ferguson, did you think this wasn't about race when that kid got shot?
No, we don't know all the facts. When I saw that, everybody was at fault. My heart goes out to the family. But let me tell you something. Our first responders have a hell of a job to do. They have families as well. But I think this right here, our problem now is we do so much talking and beating things to death. Let's take ownership in ourselves. What can we do? What can we do as a society? What can we do as African Americans? And stop waiting on someone to come in and march for us. You know, be your person and own up to what you need to do and handle your business. And I think it'd be better. But
Islam to the veterans. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide.
Yeah, but I never liked Karl Malone.
Yeah, I like him either. Yeah, he wasn't the favorite. He wasn't the favorite.
I comprehend some of the stuff he's saying. About 80% of the stuff that what his point was, I agree with. But you know, like I know you're a political celebrity figure, and you want to keep your notes. So I like how he stayed away from that question when he asked him about the highwaymen. He just said everybody was at fault. I said, yeah. You ain't want no problem. You ain't want no problem. But that when he said our first responders, that bothered me.
Yeah, that was
come
like,
on, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Karl Malone got the feds in the closet. Charles got the feds in the closet. We know Isaiah got a feds in the closet.
You know Shaq got a fez in the closet.
We know Shaq got the feds in the closet. Shaq don't even hide it. Shaq don't even hide it. He be walking around with his apron on and all of that. Like, there's nothing. Shaq don't hide it at all. He used to be my favorite player. And then I'm like, oh, disgusting.
Peace and love to all the Moors. Islam Moor. Give thanks again.
To all the Moors.
Islam again.
Give thanks to the Canaanland Moors in your platform. Give thanks, man.
Honest to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Give thanks.
Every time.
Of course, supreme honors to El Hajj, Malik Shabbazz. For dropping it. The honorable El Hajj, Malik Shabbazz. The honorable. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. Don't forget our Tuesday night. How's the number?
Yeah, he did say he didn't want to play with Magic. That was some BS. The boys in the chat. I ain't like him since he said he wasn't playing with magic because he ain't quick. Yeah, I ain't like him either.
Yo, Moor's been going nuts in the chat all day. Going nuts. Chat going nuts. Peace and love to all the Moors.
Love to all the Moors. Love.
Oh yeah, keep forgetting. Don't forget, the number changed. 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Blog Talk Radio, MHHS Eyes Wide Open. 563-999-3403. 563-999-3403. That's the number. Call in, you know what I mean? Learn something. Supreme honors to El Hajj. Give thanks for all your sacrifice. It wasn't in vain. We got the message. Islam, Brother Yusuf. Give thanks again, Moor.
Islam, Great Sheik. Honor to the Prophet. Give thanks to all the Moors in the chat. Islam.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. You already know what it is. Moor MC. Yeah, yo. All praise due to Allah, no bow ties. On my tracks, rappers get the warp speed blow-bys. Stay in my lane around corners, one man, no eyes, Cyclops Bay. Covenant not new like Polites. Running a fraud, you pay 4,300, Lord, this in the legend. Typical coon and reverence, but people support getting played robbed for birthrights. It's not about fiat, your energy quenches their thirst, right? Vampires and warlocks speak with finesse in their speech. Subconscious mind trapped from release, detecting a breach. They dissing their prophet, dually they dissing their creed. Before you follow dirty Moors, listen to me. Every Moor is not your bro, most of them sold out. Ask Malik, Malcolm, Shabbazz, and the ones that know about getting stabbed in their back for talking about rights. Minus the civil, notwithstanding, like a cripple. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, the priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Middlemen come calling themselves prophets and godsends, claiming they're sovereign, following hillbilly nonsense, saying Moors are wrong, taking things out of context. Stupidity of conscious blacks is an inferior complex, following leaders that won't go with you off the cliff, lying about slavery and even about slave ships. Robbing the ignorant, saying papers filed federal under the jurisdiction of attorney generals, claiming straw men for credit in a debt system. Yes, bonds from the treasury are really from the IMF. I am just saying what I see from the conscious, begging for donations while acting obnoxious, with no solutions. 1,500 for service products that cost 50 cents to print. These black devils are off their rockers. They don't feel awkward giving state ID to coppers. Highwaymen think killing the bay is gonna stop us. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead.
We declare our rights on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Black history must be fine. You're
going to relegate Black History to a month? What do you do with yours? Which month is Black History? I'm Jewish. Okay, which month is Jewish History Month? Oh, why not? Do you want one? No, I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history. How are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.